What if I told you that a bird once so common it was considered a fixture of the African landscape is now disappearing so quietly that most people haven't even noticed it's gone? Picture the African wetlands at dawn. The air is cool, the water is still, and a chorus of calls rises with the sun. Among them is a distinctive, piercing alarm cry, a sound that for generations has been the voice of the marshes. It belongs to a striking bird with long yellow legs, a bold black crown, and most notably, bright yellow wattles dangling from its face like living jewelry. This is the African wattled lapwing. Not long ago, you could find them almost anywhere there was water and open ground. They were the sentinels of the soggy earth, the guardians of the floodplains. But today, if you return to many of their old haunts, you'll find only silence. The sentinels are gone, and their disappearance is telling us something urgent about the health of an entire ecosystem. So how did a bird so widespread become so threatened so quickly? The story begins not with a single dramatic event, but with a slow, creeping change that has been unfolding right under our noses. For the wattled lapwing, the perfect home is a very specific kind of place. It needs shallow, seasonal wetlands, places that flood during the rains and then slowly dry out, creating vast, open mudflats and short grasslands. This is where they nest, right out in the open, laying their well-camouflaged eggs directly on the bare ground. It's also where they feed, using their long legs to wade through the shallows, picking off insects, worms, and other small creatures from the soft mud. This lifestyle worked perfectly for millennia. The seasonal nature of their homes meant there were few trees for predators to hide in, and the abundance of food allowed them to raise their chicks successfully. They were masters of a transient world, perfectly synchronized with the rhythm of the rains. But that rhythm is now being broken. The first and most profound threat is the loss of their specialized habitat. Across Africa, wetlands are being drained for agriculture at an alarming rate. What were once dynamic, flooding plains are now being converted into permanent monoculture fields. For a farmer, this is progress: more land for crops, more food, more income. But for the lapwing, it's a death sentence. A field of maize or a pasture for cattle is a biological desert. The soft, insect-rich mud is gone, replaced by hard soil or dense grass that's too tall for the birds to see over. They can't nest there. They can't feed there. They simply vanish, and it's not just agriculture. The water that feeds these wetlands is itself under threat. Upstream dams are being built for hydroelectric power and irrigation. These dams regulate river flow, stopping the natural floods that create the lapwing's ideal habitat. Instead of a pulsating, living wetland that breathes with the seasons, you get a stagnant, permanent body of water or a parched, dry basin. Neither is any good for a bird that depends on the in-between. Climate change intensifies this, creating more unpredictable rainfall. Some areas get intense, destructive floods that wash away nests. Others suffer prolonged droughts that dry out the wetlands completely, leaving the lapwings with nowhere to go. Then there's the problem of what happens when they do find a place to nest. Their strategy of nesting on the open ground, once a brilliant adaptation, has become a major liability. With human expansion comes an increase in predators that thrive around people, like feral dogs and cats. More gravel roads and tracks crisscross their remaining habitats, leading to more nests being accidentally destroyed by vehicles. And in some places, the eggs are still collected by people for food, a practice that might have been sustainable in the past, but is now devastating to small, isolated populations. But perhaps the most insidious threat is one of fragmentation. The remaining lapwings aren't just fewer in number. They're also isolated in small pockets of habitat, cut off from each other by vast tracts of farmland or development. This leads to inbreeding, which weakens the genetic health of the population, making them more susceptible to disease and less able to adapt to changing conditions. A population that is both small and isolated is incredibly vulnerable. A single bad season, a drought, a disease outbreak, a surge in predators, can wipe out an entire local group for good. The decline of the wattled lapwing is a classic death by 1,000 cuts. No single factor is solely to blame. It's the combination of habitat loss, water scarcity, increased predation, and isolation that is pushing this species into a downward spiral. And because their decline has been gradual and scattered across a massive continent, it has failed to trigger the kind of alarm that more charismatic, large mammals receive. Their crisis is a silent one, yet there is a path forward, and it's being carved out in a few key places. Conservationists are now identifying and formally protecting the most critical remaining wetland sites. They're working with local farmers to create lapwing-friendly zones on the edges of their fields, areas left fallow or grazed short to mimic natural conditions. In some regions, simple interventions like temporarily fencing off known nesting areas during the breeding season have dramatically increased chick survival. The solution isn't about stopping development entirely. It's about smarter, more mindful land use planning that makes room for nature. It's about recognizing that the health of the wattled lapwing is a direct indicator of the health of the freshwater ecosystems, that millions of people also depend on. The story of the African wattled lapwing is a warning. It's the story of a species that is highly adapted, but to a world that is rapidly disappearing. Their fate is tied to the fate of Africa's wetlands, one of the most productive and most threatened ecosystems on the planet. When we save their home, we're not just saving a bird with funny wattles. We're safeguarding the water, the soil, and the ecological balance for countless other species, including ourselves. Their silent disappearance is a call to listen more closely to the landscapes we are altering. It's a reminder that some of the most important battles for conservation are being fought not for the iconic giants, but for the quiet guardians of the marshes. What other quietly disappearing species do you think deserves more attention? Share your pick in the comments, and it could be the focus of our next deep dive.